Hello friends, welcome back to part 11 in my TSLA earnings forecast video review series. I'm joined as always by my co-host Loki, who is still curled up in bed sleeping as he was at the end of part 10. I'll pick up right where we left off, which was post number 52 out of 69. So we are hitting the home stretch now on my forecast review series. We left off looking at gross margin percentages, which are growing over time. I expect better gross margins next year than we had this year. As the general car market improves, maybe Tesla will do some advertising, maybe more people will buy full self-driving as awareness spreads of how good it is at driving itself. And I'll show you this visual. I teased it for a second at the end of the previous video before deciding this is a different enough topic to go in a different video. We're looking at the breakdowns of the automotive division into cash versus leased for units sold, for revenue, for cost of sales that I used to make that excluding leased chart that you may remember from many, many videos ago or many posts earlier in this 69 post forecast thread with some related metrics at the bottom, I said. So you have to do some math if you want to figure out how much the cash sale units were relative to the leased units. They tell you how many leased units there were, and they tell you how many total units there were. So you back your way into it. You take this number, you subtract that number, and it gives you this number. That's how we're doing it in all of these cases. And then you can look at this for automotive revenue in total, including leases, automotive lease revenue, which they give you, and automotive revenue excluding leases is just this number minus that number, right? Same deal. So this is how I arrive at these numbers to go on those charts. You got the cost of sales number here. Cash sales ASP is just giving you this divided by this. Cash sales cost of sales per vehicle is giving you this number divided by that number. You take the cost of sales dollars, you divide them by the number of cash units sold, and that gives you cash sales, cost of sales per vehicle. If you were interested in learning where these came from, cash sales, cost of sales, you just take these dollars of cost and you divide them by these dollars of revenue, and it gives you the cost as a percentage of the revenue. Same thing for leased, and if you scroll down to the next page, you can see what it is in total. It's already reported in total, but I was breaking it out into leased versus cash. Below that, I'm showing regulatory credit sales, automotive sales excluding leasing and credits, which sometimes people might care to see. Cost of sales excluding leasing, ASP excluding leasing and credits, cost of sales per vehicle excluding leasing, so many metrics in my forecast model. You get 1,600 rows worth of data on your detailed model tab. You're going to have a lot of interesting stuff you could look at. Gross profit dollars per cash sale. So we got those numbers here. Gross profit percent on cash sales, I should probably format as percentages so you can see what they are instead of them showing up as goose eggs here. I wonder when that format got messed up. Oh well. Add that to the list of stuff to fix in your free time, James. Non-GAAP EPS excluding regulatory credits. So those numbers are here. If there were no such thing as reg credits, what would Tesla's EPS be? Non-GAAP that Wall Street's looking at. And then I've got the components of operating expense down here. These are for my charts that show you SG&A, research and development, stock compensation, etc. I've got another page of that here. And this section below that is for figuring out that PE range chart. Hey James, how were you able to make a chart that shows what the PE range is every quarter? You got to do a little bit of work. You got to look up what all the stock prices were, and you got to figure out what the earnings were, and then do some math to figure out what the quarterly high and quarterly low PE ratios were. And then you can make a chart. I've got some employee count metrics down here. So I'm forecasting 212,000 Tesla employees by the end of this year. That's probably high. I'd be surprised if Tesla has more than this many employees by the end of the year, because at the start of this year they had 164, and then they did those layoffs that were like a 10% reduction. But I think I'm modeling this as the minimum growth rate from the previous 3 years. So if Tesla grows no faster this year than it did in the lowest year-over-year growth from the previous 3 times they've reported it, this is the number it'll be. I believe is what my calculation was there. For simplicity's sake, I'm just showing you what's posted in my forecast thread instead of making you look at the very, very tiny print from my earnings forecast model, which, if you'll bear with me for a second, I can just drag onto the screen briefly. Looks more like this. So this is the live model that you can scroll back through all the years of Tesla's history and see all of these numbers. There's so many formulas on this page. Hey, this will be fun. I'll show you an Excel tip to kind of wake myself up. We're going to go to this replace field and say replace equal sign with equal sign, and I'll hit replace all. What does this do? It counts how many formulas there are on this page. So within this sheet, let's see. How many formulas are there? It'll tell me how many there were when it's done replacing them all. All right, things are mathing, updating, doing what they do. Everything needs to recalculate. All right, there we go. All done. We made 43,473 replacements. So that's how many formulas there are on this detailed model tab of my forecast. 43,000. Seems like a lot. All right, here's everything on the whole income statement per share. So that's what these formulas in my model are doing. They're just taking the dollars, dividing them by the share count, and saying, all right, on a per share basis, what's everything? Everything per diluted share is what you see here. So why talk only about earnings per share? Why not talk about everything per share? Well, if you did, these are the numbers you'd be talking about. How much revenue do you have to increase Tesla's revenue by to grow it by 1 penny per share? A lot. Many millions of dollars. So this $5 here, or this $7.33 here, I guess, represents $25 billion worth of revenue. So, yeah, a penny worth of revenue per share growth is a lot of revenue growth. This is the end of my summary section. Actually, I tie out foreign currency impacts against actuals below this, but I don't forecast Forex impacts because I'm terrible at it, so I just assume 0 in the forecast and deal with whatever the actuals are. I used to try forecasting foreign currency exchange impacts, and I would get them wrong directionally, despite having tried, like trying to research, okay, what are the exchange rates? How different are those from what they were a quarter ago, etc. Okay, it ought to be a favorable or an unfavorable. I would get them directionally wrong, right? So I just stopped trying to do that. And instead, this is the last part from the summary section from the rows 1100 through 1700 of my model that we've been reviewing so far that are in here. And this is a good stopping point before I make more videos about how I build up from a granular raw assumptions level to all of these summaries that you've seen over the past 3 or 4 videos. And with that, I will check back in with Loki and see what he's up to. Still curled up in bed sleeping on his lammy blanket. And I'll remind you to like the video if you liked the video. Don't forget to like it. That'll help other people like you who might like this video find it. And then maybe they'll like the video. Don't forget to follow me or subscribe to me if that's your thing. I appreciate everybody who does subscribe to me, especially my executive producers, Kathy Kitchler and Rebellionaire.com, and I'll see you in the next one.